Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Brave Briefings. This is the place where you can come and talk about toxic behaviors, masculine toxicity, feminine toxicity, sexual and gender-based violence. But what we want to really talk about is how do we stop that? How do we become brave so that we can stop the scourge, this pandemic that is creating so much havoc in the world? So I want everybody to be brave. So brave is about boundaries and balance. It's about respect and responsibility. It's about agreement and authenticity. It's about values, it's vulnerability, and it's about equality and empathy and empowerment. So I want everybody to be brave. So today I have Lian Allweis with me. And are you brave, Lian?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So thank you very much for joining us, Lian. I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Lois, so much for sharing your story, being brave and having the courage to open this space for everyone to share and inspire and support and encourage. It's so important what you're doing, and I just I'm so thankful and grateful for your braveness and your courage.
Well, thank you. And for everybody who listens, who joins us, I thank them as well. And thank you, Lian. So, Lian, would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
I'm Lian. I call myself a philosopher and a life observer. And I'm the creator of the unpredicted happiness method and the chart your life methods, which basically help people really transform their thought patterns, their emotional habits, so that they can find their way to break free into their life and what they're meant to be and do, so that they are fulfilled and happy. One could call this a happiness coach. I strongly believe that we are emotional creatures, and whether we want it or not, our emotions control everything that we do or not do throughout the days and our lives. So I'm a big believer in looking into our emotions, and especially now, and I think that one of the things that leads, and there has been some research on it, that creates conflicts and hatred and violence, is actually our inability to connect with our emotions, understand our emotions, express our emotions. So our vocabulary of emotions is very limited. When we can't express ourselves, we can't show up for ourselves. We can't express our boundaries. We can't help people understand us because we don't understand ourselves. And I think that is a very important component in life.
And your work sounds intriguing. It sounds fabulous. And what's more important to me, it sounds like it helps people be brave.
Yes, absolutely. So talking about your acronym, and what I wanted to share today with people is, I think that one of the first steps that we need to practice, and I use the word practice because practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes us better at what it is that we're practicing. And we need to understand that. And we need to start by practicing, which means the first, probably the beginning, will be just remembering that we want to practice. So you get in a situation, you do the same thing all over again. 5 hours later, you go, oops, but I wanted to do it different and I didn't. And that's a reminder. And then the next time it happens, it takes 3 hours. And you go, oops, but I wanted to. So it really is all about practicing and understanding and being patient with that practice, which brings us to empathy, which is the first step that we need to take. Not just empathy towards others, because especially as victims of any kind of abuse or violence, we tend to take it on ourselves and blame ourselves and be really hard on ourselves. That is added to the fact that we all have a tendency, and we're brought up in a society that it really encourages us to be unkind to ourselves. So empathy towards yourself, being kind to yourself, be your best friend. Hold your hand. When you give yourself that space of seeing yourself, not blaming yourself, but seeing yourself, hearing yourself, you show up for yourself. When you practice that, you will be able to then, from that place, understand your boundaries and be able to express your boundaries better. This is acceptable, this is not acceptable. I'm your best friend, I'm going to encourage you to say, this is not okay. From practicing that, the empathy and the the boundaries and expressing your boundaries, you find your resilience. And that resilience, of course, gives you the courage. Does that make sense?
It does. I like the way you strung it all together. You know, be kind to yourself, be authentic, and discover and express those boundaries with courage. I think that's fantastic. So, yeah.
When you look, when you look at your best friend, you encourage them, you support them, you help them find the courage. And when you're your best friend, you can help yourself. You know, instead of looking in the mirror and saying, you know, I'm ugly or I'm fat, or whatever. It's like, but I still love you. That doesn't take away from who you are. And you're not ugly. For some people, you're the most beautiful face in the world. And it's really understanding that it has nothing to do with your outside world and those thought patterns that have led you to those emotional habits that are so hard on yourself, that are so discouraging. Being able to forgive yourself, because life is messy and we all make mistakes.
Absolutely.
You know, living without regrets, that's pretty much saying I'm a perfectionist. If you have reached whichever age you are, you already have regrets. Nothing wrong with having regrets. Regrets are the way we learn. And that's okay, no matter what. There is no mistake that if it's done from a place, and I believe we all act from a place of doing our best with what we have. And if you allow yourself to accept that, understand that, then you can take that step forward and say, well, now I know better, now I do better. What a journey. Wow.
It's a great journey.
Being brave is, and because being brave is also allowing yourself to learn.
So now,
and in order to learn, you have to
carry on.
Go ahead.
So now,
I was just about to say, and go ahead, Lois.
I was going to say, so now we have found our boundaries and we've expressed our boundaries, and we've done it courageously, how do we teach those people with toxic behaviors? How do we teach them to have this empathy and to find their boundaries and to live with those boundaries?
We can't. We can't teach someone who is not willing to teach. But when we take care of ourselves and we hold our boundaries, then we can also make the choice if we stay or go, and what the boundaries are, even if it in that specific relationship. So for example, and I'm going to take an example that is not from violence and hate, but let's say you have a friend that whenever you meet them, they're always late, and you've expressed it a few times nicely. Hey, you're always like 20 minutes late. This is really not fair. It's not nice. I don't like it. Doesn't make me feel nice. You know, they do it again. You say, hey, you're late again. After a few times, you need to understand this person will not change. Now you have the choice of saying, okay, do I like this person enough that I want to stay in a relationship? And then you say, you know what? I do. I enjoy that person, but this is causing me a lot of stress. I will stop meeting that person one-on-one. I will meet them only in gatherings, so I don't have to wait. So you change from yourself, but you also make that choice.
Now that's a fantastic solution to your situation, but let's turn it to a violent situation. So that is an abusive, let's say, husband that is beating you up, and eventually you walk away from that relationship. The problem is that he may go on to his next relationship and continue that behavior with his next relationship. And those are the patterns that I want to break.
The only way to break a pattern for someone else is to break the pattern for yourself. They have their journey. We can't, you know, if you look at the serenity prayer, God, give me the wisdom to change the things that I can, accept the things that I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. We can change other people, but our behavior, our reactions, our way of showing up in the world will create a difference in the world around us. So if I'm in a relationship that, you know, there's that cycle that this person says that, then this happens, and then this happens, and this, and I stop it because I stop the cycle by doing something new. Then the other person's reaction can't be the same as it used to, because the cycle was broken. So we can't change others, but by showing up for ourselves, creating those boundaries, and like you said, yes, they are going to probably move to someone else who is, and that cycle is going to continue. The only thing we can do is encourage in the ripple effect of speaking up that other person. And if that happens enough times to the violator, they will end up hopefully changing. But no one will change if they don't want to change, if they can't see it.
Okay, then to take it a step further, how do we instill these more positive behaviors in our youth before they develop those bad patterns?
Ooh. I think that, once again, I think the first thing is helping kids understand emotions. Where does violence come from? Violence comes from fear. It comes from the frustration, perhaps, of not being able to express yourself. When I was a child, I remember I lost my voice. And I was trying to have a conversation with my sister and my father, and I can't remember the subject, I can't remember what was happening, but I could not speak and they couldn't hear me. And I remember the frustration and the rage inside of me, and I started crying. There was almost a place that wanted to be violent, kind of like to grab and say, look at me, hear me. That is where a lot of violence comes from. So I think that the number one is really teaching kids and boys, especially, that it's okay to feel, to have emotions. It's okay to express emotions. It's okay to explore our emotions, and you don't have to man up. I think allowing that vulnerability is the number one place.
Great, that's fabulous. Yeah. So it's all about emotional intelligence.
It's more than emotional intelligence, it's emotional awareness. What I base my work on is emotional awareness, emotional curiosity, emotional vocabulary, and emotional inheritance. Because a lot of our emotional world is actually inherited through our parents and their parents and generations. And understanding that, a lot of people, if you look at, most people that are violent, look into their history. Where did they learn that from?
Well, we've got a lot of work to do, haven't we, to change some of these mindsets out there. Well, Lian, so in summary, it's really quite simple. It's about understand your emotions, express your emotions courageously, and be vulnerable, I think, is very important.
Yeah. Brené Brown says, if you don't do vulnerability, vulnerability will do you. And on the same token, I say, if you don't do emotions, emotions will do you.
I like
and it's, the thing is that if you don't allow your emotions, and when I say allow, I also mean in that be able to, say it. Most people, if you ask them, they can't name more than, I think, 7, maybe 10 emotions. And there's hundreds, thousands in some cases, in some research of emotions. So being able to say it in a way that, semantics is important, because there's a difference between angry and livid. And then the curiosity is, well, where is it coming from? Why? Why is there a thought pattern? Because behind every emotion, there's a thought pattern. So where is that? What is the thought pattern? You dig a little bit into it and you find the core of it, and you understand that a lot of times anger is actually pain. So what you actually want to say is, yeah. Well, we all want to be seen.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put your contact details under the video so people can find out more about this work that you do, which is absolutely fascinating. I think everybody needs to dig deep and find a little bit more about their emotional awareness. So thank you for that. And all of all the viewers out there, you too can be brave, you too can be bold, and you too can fly free. So I invite you all to come back and watch another edition of Brave Briefings. You can contact Lian, you can contact me. I am Lois from Walking Without Skin, and Let's all be brave together. Thank you, Lian.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lois. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.